Alright, so, y'all have been talking about subtracting mixed numbers. So, let's kind of go back through what we've learned so far. Alright, so, whenever you're, let's see, we'll both start to do it now, and I guess kind of in pre-K, but first you learn how to add and subtract just whole numbers, right? Like 5 minus 1 equals what? 4. And then of course you get bigger, right? We get bigger. We get, in 4th grade, we're subtracting like 6-digit numbers, right?
That's why we learned how to stack it. But
That's,
we can do that in subtracting these numbers.
Well, but we're just talking about subtracting whole numbers right now, right? So we learned how to add and subtract whole numbers, and we've been doing that pretty much until about 3rd grade. So we started out learning how to add and subtract only fractions. Now, a fraction has a numerator and a denominator, right? So I'm still dealing with one number, really, because what do I do with my denominator? Keep it the same. Unless I have to simplify or unless I have to make an equivalent fraction for it, I don't want to change my denominator, right?
It's
So-
a number, but it's not a whole number. It's a part of it.
It's still just dealing with one number. And all fractions, just fractions, are less than 1, but greater than 0. Good. Now, we started talking about adding mixed numbers. And the tough thing with mixed numbers is it has how many parts?
3.
How many parts do mixed numbers have?
2. Because there's a fraction part and a whole.
There's 2. There's a fraction part and there's a whole part. Because it's mixed up. It is my whole number. It is my fraction. It's both of them, right? So, how many parts do I have?
2.
Y'all should be sure because you should be listening to me. How many parts?
2.
2, because I have what part?
Whole part.
And then a fraction part. So, here's where it gets a little complicated because you have to add your whole parts together and then you have to add the fraction parts. Which property did we kind of use in our head to add those parts?
Associative.
Very good, associative, because we used parentheses, which means we put our numbers into groups. Good, which is what property?
Associative.
Good. All right, now, the most complicated thing that could happen whenever we add our mixed numbers is that I get an improper fraction here, and I have to fix it. How do we fix improper fractions? You divide them because they got the big head. You got to do the big-headed backflip, right, and divide them. Yes, ma'am?
During while I was doing Freckle, it gave me a hint. It said do the big numbers first, do the whole numbers first, and then like set it off to the side, and then you do the fractions, and if it's a mixed number, if it's an improper fraction, you fix it, and then you add the whole number back to it.
That's right.
Moreland
So-
told us to just go get fraction part first.
Well, either way, you can look at either. Well,
I like to look at the fractions.
you
She
need.
told us that whenever we're doing this, we always look at the fractions.
Well, but what lesson did Miss Moreland teach y'all though? The subtraction one. Which lesson are we on right now? Adding. I just want y'all to stay with me. 1 second, Gage. Let me get, because we got to get to the lesson. Now, this is what we're doing. We're keeping our whole number, but I got to fix this by doing what y'all told me?
Divide.
5 going to 8, how many whole times?
1.
So I get 1 remainder 3, but that is what?
A mixed number.
1 and
3.
5th. So if I have 4 holes and I have 1 hole, how many holes do I have?
5.
Addie, I hope you're with me.
5.
I've got to add those back together. So that's the most complicated thing that can happen with my adding. Subtraction was different. Now, and Miss Moreland's right. You do want to look at those fractions because with subtraction, that's good. That could be the part that could trick you because when I subtract mixed numbers, first off, I've got to make sure that my largest what is first?
Numerator.
Whole number.
Our largest whole number, our largest mixed number. Is my largest mixed number first up here? Yes, it is. How do I know that?
Because 5 is bigger than 4.
5 is bigger than 4. Good. Now, and this is what I always tell my kids. First, check and make sure. I like for mine to check the whole number first because sometimes if we're writing the problem down on our paper, guess what we don't do?
We don't write the whole.
We don't put the whole number first. And if the biggest whole number is not first, then we might go through all of this work and we didn't even have our biggest whole number first. So check that first because that's just an easy check. Yep, my biggest whole number is first. Now, look at your fraction. You can't move on from subtraction without checking out your fraction. Is your biggest numerator first?
No.
Look up here. Everybody should be answering me.
No.
Is it first?
No.
Well, can I say, okay, well, let me do this. Can I do that? Can I swap them? No, because then I'm changing the whole problem. Then I'm changing up my whole problem.
And you can't just swap around.
I can't just swap
And
them.
then your whole numbers would be different, and that would be the.
So I gotta keep them where they're at. The only thing that I could swap is, let's say that I accidentally wrote down my problem like this. The only thing I can swap is I can say, oh, I can't do that. I gotta put my biggest mixed number first, okay? That's the only time I can swap it, right? Okay, so I can't subtract these like they are because my little numerator's second. So there's a way I can change these though. I gotta keep them equivalent. Remember, we can't just make up any math problem we wanna make up, right? It's gotta have some math behind it. It's gotta make sense. I need to keep them equivalent. So what's equivalent to mixed numbers, everybody?
Improper.
Improper fraction. So let's make both of these improper, not just one, both. So how do I make this one improper?
5 times 4 is
4 times 5 is
20.
20 plus 1 is
21. And then
your denominator.
stays the same.
Good. Dropping this down. All right. How do I make this improper?
4 times 4
Is
16.
and 16 plus 3 is.
19.
And if you have the biggest mixed number first, your biggest numerator will always be first. If you happen to get a little numerator up front, you didn't put your whole number first, your biggest whole number first, okay? Because this should always work. It always works. All right, now let's subtract. I just subtract my what?
Numerator.
What is 21 minus 19? But if I leave it right there, I'm wrong. Why? I gotta simplify. So 2 4 simplifies 2, and hopefully know that because 2 is half of 4. All right, good job. So just a real quick review. We're gonna be doing more of those. So that way, because subtraction can be tough. Or subtracting mixed numbers can be tough. Yes, sir, Gage?
What happened if one of answers we had 4 mixed numbers and there's and we have to add them and there's parentheses on them.
Well, you would do your parentheses first. You do the order of
Well,
operations.
But what if there's two
I think you mean if the small
what
number.
if I say two mixed numbers and then other two improper numbers and then you had to add them.
You would just make them all improper. That's a good question. Gage is saying, what if?
After that, what happened if we had to? Then after that, we have to make our problem simple, but
Yeah.
it was an improper fraction. So after that, then we had to
Divide it.
Yep,
And
then we
then?
have to simplify
Good.
it again.
Yes.
And then get our answer.
Well, Gage, you got it figured out. Good, because that's a really good question. Gage was asking, well, what if they give you mixed numbers and improper fractions? Well, we can fix it. We can make our mixed numbers into improper, right?
But and also
Alright.
the other things I said,
Mm-hmm.
we can also do the other things, which that would be a lot
That would be.
And are we going to ever
We
do that?
we won't have to do that in 4th grade. It stays pretty simple. Gage, why don't you read underneath the blue arrow for us on this paper?
You have learned to write a fraction as a sum of unit fractions. For example, 4/5 equals 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1. You can also write a fraction as a multiple of the unit fraction.
I think you know what you're saying. Oh, well, that's pretty cool, Asher.
Did you hear me?
Cool. I did. You did a great job, Gage. Great job reading. So Gage told us that we have learned how to write a fraction as a what? Sum of a unit fraction. So underline that. So if it says unit fraction, what has to go on top? A 1. Now we have decomposed it just different ways, right? You've got to read well enough where you can say, I can only use unit fractions. Or, I can do it any way that I want. But if it says unit fraction, guess what you got to use?
Unit fraction.
All right. Now, let's circle this. You can also write a fraction as a... If we're thinking about multiples, I need to what?
Multiply.
Multiply, right? We're thinking of skip counting, right? Multiplication. All right, so... use an equation, so circle equation, to write 4/5 as a multiple of a what?
Unit fraction.
All right, so circle equation because all equations must have a what? An equal sign. They gotta have an equal sign, right? Now, it wants me to write 4/5 as a what?
Multiple of a unit fraction.
Underline that because that's very, very, very important. Now, use fraction tiles. We're going to draw our fraction tiles. Y'all with me? Everybody awake? Here we go. Model 4/5 using fraction tiles. Draw your result below. If you've got to draw 4/5, let's do a little rectangle. And I'm using fraction tiles. So, over there, look at my fraction tiles. Do I just have one fraction tile that says that?
No.
I don't, do I? I just have what kind of fractions over there?
Unit.
Unit fractions. So this is what you should think of whenever you think of unit fractions. You should think of my little magnets over there because I have got to put them all together, right? So if I wanted to make 4/5, so let's put 4/5 equals. How many of my little 1/5 fraction tiles would I need?
4.
4. 1/5, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5. Now, last lesson, a few lessons ago, I know that I could add these together. Well, now I'm not adding. I'm not doing sums. I'm doing what? Multiples. So, but I'm also not going to say 1/5 times 1/5 times 1/5 times 1/5 because that's not what I'm doing. How many times did y'all write 1/5?
4.
All right, so let me show you. So 4/5 equals, because remember we gotta write it as an equation. All right, how many times did y'all write 1/5?
4.
Big whole 4 right there. What did I write 4 times?
1. Oh, 1/5.
There we go. That's my multiple of unit fraction. I think these are easier than sums of unit fractions because you're just writing how many times you had to write 1/5. Does it kind of make sense? Now, we've already looked at it using repeated addition. So, let's answer our questions again. How many times is 1/5 added to equal 4/5? 4 times. Now, notice it's not a fraction. I didn't write it a fraction of a time, right? How many whole times did you write it on your paper? 4. So you need 4 of your 1/5. So, boom, there's my answer. Now, if you've been multiplying fractions already, you took this a step further. You actually got the answer. We're not there yet. Okay? We're not getting the answers just yet. We're just showing what's happening. So it's kind of like the in-between step. Yes, sir, Gage?
So you're saying that the 4
It's an equation to help you get the
I
answer.
was trying to say it until I think somebody else.
Yeah, it's okay. She had a quick question. What was you saying, Gage?
So you're saying that like 4, like the whole like 4 is like the. I was like wondering like how would like the whole like the 4 is the whole. How would that like be turned into like the 4th whole? How would that turn into the fraction of the 4th?
Well, let's do a couple more examples and see if that answers your question, Gage, to see if we can see it. That's a good question. I think that's a good question. Let's investigate some more. Addie, read up at the top of the page 608 for us.
You know that 6 is a multiple of 2. Any multiple of 6, such as 12, 18, and 24, are also multiples of 2. The same is true for fractions. A multiple of a fraction can also be written as a multiple of a unit fraction.
All right. So what it's saying is, so let's think about this. If I ask you, is 6 a multiple of 2? Can we skip count by 2's and get 6? Yes. Yes, we can, right? So if 6 is a multiple of 2, you said yes, then all of my multiples of 6 are also multiples of 2. Right? So let's do another example. Is 12 a multiple of 3?
Yes.
12 is a multiple of 3, right? So any multiple of 12 is also going to be a multiple of 3. Okay? The same is true for fractions. A multiple of a fraction, so what we just did, what we just did was multiple of a unit fraction. We can write it as just a multiple of a fraction. They kind of put it around backwards for us. What this is, okay, so let me put it this way. Do you remember how we decomposed using only unit fractions?
Yes.
Okay, but then do you remember how we decomposed a different way? Yes. All right. That's what this is doing. We're going to decompose these as multiples of unit fractions, and then we're going to decompose it. Aubrey, you with me? Just as a multiple of a Did it say unit fraction? No. So we might not use a unit fraction. All right. So Tucker, read this underneath try it in the bold for us.
Use the equation to write 2 times 4/5 as a multiple of a unit fraction.
Okay. So y'all don't write this, but on the page we just did, I wrote 4/5 as a multiple of a unit fraction, right? I said 4 times what?
1/5.
All right. Now, here, instead of 4/5, they have 2 times 4/5. Do you see the difference in the two examples?
Yeah.
You with me? This one is just 4/5. Well, this is if I have 2 times 4/5.
What would that give you an improper fraction?
Mm-hmm. But it only wants us to write an equation. So we're not solving it just yet. We're still kind of working it out. So this is what I want you to do. Let's rewrite what we did on the front page. So this is just to look back. Do y'all have room at the top? Yes. Up at the very top by your paragraph. By your paragraph, you with me? That Addie read for us. I want you to write what we wrote on the first paper. First example. Rewrite that, very, very top. That's just to help me remember. Now, what we're doing differently is, now come down here with me, and let's rewrite 2 times 4/5 equals. We always want to rewrite what they have in the equation for us. Well, they don't want us to multiply the whole thing yet because they want it as a multiple of a what? Multiple of a what? Alright, so what I want you to do, let's skip out and let's go ahead and set it up. I'm going to multiply a number by my unit fraction. What's my unit fraction for this problem?
1/5.
1/5, right? If I had to pick out number tiles, that's what it's going to be, right? Now, I don't just have 4 times 1/5 anymore. How many 4/5 do I have? I have 2 times my 4/5. What's 2 times 4?
8.
Boom. There we go.
It's just like how we always do it. The denominator stays the same.
Well, we're not multiplying the whole thing yet. This is just we're decomposing them.
Kind of confusing.
We'll do more examples so you can get it. So now we've got the answer. This is our answer, but let's break it down. Model 8/5 because look, if I'm doing 2 4/5, if I have 4/5 plus 4/5, how many fifths do I have?
8/5.
I know that I have 8. So I need to write 1/5 how many times? 8. So I used 8 of those tiles. We don't have to draw it. But I really, just fill in these blanks. I really don't like making it improper because you're going to have to change it back anyways. So I'm trying to save y'all some steps. So just fill in those blanks. We're going to do some more examples so we can get used to this. All right, Asher, read example 1 for us.
Write an equation showing how 3/8 is a multiple of 1.
All right, circle that. Equation, that means I need a what?
Equal sign.
I need an equal sign, right? So let's rewrite 3/8 equals. Am I doing sums or multiples?
Multiple.
So I need to
Multiply.
multiply. What I like to do is I like to skip out, put my times and my unit fraction, because that's going to be there. How many times do I need 1/8?
3.
Just 3 to make it equal, right? Okay. Now, let's do number 2. Read number 2 for me, Kaden.
Write an equation that's showing how 6/8 is a multiple of both 3/8 and 1/8.
All right. So equations is plural. So how many equations should I have? 2. And then I've got to write it as a multiple of 3/8 and 1/8. Well, let's do 1/8 because we've done our unit fraction, right? So let's do 6/8 equals blank times 1/8. But we're about to come and fill in the blank. How many 1/8 do I need?
6.
Some of y'all aren't with me and you're going to get lost. 6 wholes, right? But now it wants me to show 6/8 as a, watch, multiple of
3/8. You can do it 2 times.
how many times do I need 3/8 to equal to 6/8? 2 whole times. Very good. That's what we do. We're going to do some more examples. But first, look at your homework. On your homework tonight, you're only going to do, wait, no. Today's Monday. We're doing all of these tonight, so there's only 12. So all of these tonight. Let's do, I tell you what, on homework, let's do 2 examples together. Let's look at number 1 on our homework. But you can't forget to go back and do number 2 because we're not doing number 2 together. Let's do number 1 together. All right, read our instructions for us, Aubrey.
Use an equation to write each fraction
Stop
as a
humming.
multiple of a unit fraction.
Alright, so circle equation. Am I doing sums or multiples? And am I doing it any way or unit fractions way?
Unit fraction.
Good. Now, what I want you to do, I know 5, 6 is over here, but on your test, I'm going to make you rewrite it. So we need to rewrite it with an equal sign. Multiple of a unit fraction.
1/6.
My unit fraction, good, Maddox, for this is 1/6. Am I doing sums or multiples? So I multiply. Now, how many times do I need to write it? Now, if you can't talk back to me about these, you need to be asking questions and answering them as well, because you're going to have to do this on your own. Yes, sir, Caden, question?
There's not a lot of blood, but I'm kind of bleeding.
Okay, well, if there's not a lot, bud, we'll make it. All right, so let's flip over to the back. So I want you to go ahead and rewrite it just to prep it. Use an equation to write each fraction or product as a multiple of a what?
Unit fraction.
Now, it says fraction or product because on number 3, it's just like we did on number 1. And we're using what kind of fractions?
Unit fraction.
All right. 1/8. How many times do I need 1/8?
3.
And they mentioned products because look at number 7, 8, 9, 10. We're multiplying those, so that's going to give me products. So let's do 7 together. Let's rewrite it. Equals, because I need an equation, right? Now, gonna skip out, put my times. What's my unit fraction?
1/5.
But how many times do I need 1/5? I don't need it just 4 times.
7 times.
I need it 3 times 4 times.
12 times.
Good.
Wait, but it's improper.
Well,
It's not improper.
not
it's
yet,
real.
but it will be improper once we start multiplying them.
It's not making more sense.
Remember, we're just decomposing it right now. We're not, you shouldn't get an improper fraction as your answer because I haven't done that yet. It's kind of like I paused, right, on working it out. Okay, so one more that we're going to do together, helping y'all out on homework tonight. 5 times 2/5 equals. I want you rewriting those tonight. Now, sums or multiples? Multiples of unit fractions or other ways?
Unit fraction.
Good.
1/5.
1/5 times.
Now, how many times do I need 1/5?
10.
Good. Because I don't need just 2, I need 5 times 2, which is
10.
good. So it's starting to make sense now?
Yes.
A whole number. Because, Marley, so remember when I did my fraction tiles with the 4s? I needed 4 of them, right? Well, on this one, with my 1/5, let me do this. Let me just erase that whole thing. So, if I have 1/5, right? And if I just, Marley, if I just had, oh my goodness gracious. Okay, there we go. If I just had my fraction, I would only need how many of those? 2. All right, so there I go. But I don't just have my fraction. I have to, it's saying, hey, we need 5 of these. I need 5 groups of this. So if you give me 5 groups of 2, how many do you give me?
10.
Does that kind of make sense?
That's all you're doing is multiplying the 5 and then the top.
That's right. That whole number by your numerator. Good. Yes, sir, Gage, really quick.
Do you know that like the times, like the whole number times the fraction? What if you like use the tiles as well for those? Will we ever do that?
We won't, but if they give you some, you could. Shh, we shouldn't be talking in the middle of the lesson.
Would you show us how to?
Yes, but we don't have enough time today, bud. Now look, on these two, I want y'all to go ahead, Gage. I love your questions though. Very helpful to my lesson. I want you to go ahead. Now we're not answering these. I'm just making sure you remember to put your equation on there because that's how you got to start these, right? Okay, so once you get that down, the paper we did together is going to go in your study. I know study folder is probably getting a little thick, but it's going to be that way until we take our test in here, which is going to be on Thursday test. And then I want us to look at this classwork together.
Yes, ma'am.
So put up these two papers.
This is just what we're studying.
It's a lot of fractions. Oh. All right, so please don't talk while we're putting this up. I'm hoping I still have to grade some people who didn't finish with us. I'm hoping I can get them out to you tomorrow on Wednesday at the latest. See, chapter 9 test. Shouldn't be talking. Maybe a week and a half ago or so. Chapter 9 went really quick because we learned all of our other stuff during chapter 8. Yeah, all the really tough stuff in chapter 8. So I was just writing your skills on here that, of course, y'all need to be studying your vocabulary, right? Which, if you listen and participate in lessons, we always talk about them. We talk about how unit fractions always have a what as a numerator? 1. We always talk about how fractions need the same denominator to be what? Good. All right, so you will have to add and subtract fractions. And then what do you have to do to all your answers?
Simplify.
Even if your directions don't say it. Then you're going to have to add and subtract mixed numbers and simplify. And then you're going to have to decompose. Now we're decomposing a lot of things. Fractions as sums of unit fractions. Let's see. Yes, ma'am. Oh, you can put those on my desk. I'll finish writing this because I don't want to take up our class time since we're going to school on time.
What happens if we what happens since you said even if we correct the system, what if we done and the answer becomes wrong?
It won't be. Not for me. Sometimes Excel can be a little tricky because at first it doesn't make you simplify. And then later on, it will make you simplify, but on your papers,
Yes, and
that
then
won't
you did that,
happen.
and I got almost all of them on. It was so hard.
Well, but if you get one wrong, then you fix it after the first one, right?
Computer test.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that when it happens, okay, bud? Let's look at some. I want to do a few more examples before I have to swap. Yes, or no? That's in
It's in
April. It's not what we're looking at today. All right. Use an equation to write each fraction or product as a...
Multiple.
Woo, where is everybody at? Everybody should be repeating this back to me right now. Put those knees down. Let's try it again. Use an equation to write each fraction or product as a...
Multiple unit fraction.
Thank you. You should be following along with me. You should not just be sitting there. How boring is it to just sit there? You should be talking to me. Now, let's look at these together.
You forgot the circle equation.
Good Gage. And it does say fraction or product like it did on our homework. So sometimes they'll just give me a fraction. Sometimes I'll have that product where they're multiplying. All right, so let's look at number 3. Go ahead and rewrite your 3/4 equals. Now I want you to do the rest. Alright, are we finding multiples or are we finding sums?
Multiple.
So what operation should I see in here? Multiplication. Now, if you don't know where to start after here, you have not been paying attention. Not really. And look, don't do it right now, but if y'all still have that morning work, that should go to the blue strip. This paper, that should not still be on your desk. If it's still on your desk, you haven't done what you need to do. All right, so what's my unit fraction for this? Landon, I just said don't do it right now. You're not listening. Not listening at all.
1/4.
Thank you. 1/4.
Times 3.
Very good. I need my multiplication symbol. Check. Some of you left off your multiplication symbols. You can't. How many times do I need 1/4?
3.
All right. I want you all to do 4, 5, and 6. Make sure you rewrite it and then raise your hand once you get those. We have what they're referring to as that product because they're multiplying it, right? 2 times 2/3 equals. So we got to rewrite that. Y'all rewrite it with me? Now, I like to skip out and do this. I like to go ahead and just put times 1/3. That way I don't accidentally mess that up. And then I like to go back and put my whole number in there. If I have 2 groups of 2/3,
4.
what it's saying is I need 2/3. How many times? 2 times, right?
Miss Moore, what if it would it be wrong if you like if you did 2 times 3? What if someone did 2 times 3?
That would definitely be wrong.
Because you can't change the denominator.
That's right. Don't want to change that denominator. All right, y'all do the rest of these for me.